Good afternoon and welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the debate live, there is a link in the info box below this video, and I will periodically put the link into the chat box so you can join the show live. There are only two rules. If you swear, you will be ejected. I may give you a couple of warnings, but this rule will be more stringently enforced than it perhaps has been on other shows, but I will ask you politely once and then eject you. So please do not swear. If you are ejected, please only return on the next show, which is the second rule. So the first rule being do not swear, the second rule being if you're asked to leave, please only return on the next debate. Obviously, there are plenty of people out there with soccer accounts. I'm talking to you. In these shows, there may be some dead air at the beginning of these broadcasts, so I will transition across to my slideshow just so I can share the link on Facebook and Twitter and Skype, and I'll encourage anybody who's currently watching this to do exactly the same. As I say, if you would like to join the show live, there is a link in the info box and in, well, at least currently in the chat box until that flies away with the chat. And if you're new to this channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. I've just shared the show on some social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Skype, various other platforms. While we're waiting for our first guest to join, I may as well say straight away that if you were the first guest, you would be entirely unopposed. The purpose of this show isn't necessarily to debate with me, so the purpose is to express your views about the shape of the Earth, whatever they may be. So if you're a concave Earther, cell Earther, hollow Earther, globe Earther, flat Earther, you name it, you're more than welcome to join and express those views. As I say, for the time being at least, you would be expressing them entirely unopposed. So my purpose in being here, as I say, is not to debate with the guests who join the panel, but moreover to just regulate the panel and make sure that it's not getting sniped or having pornography played, and that people know that they are actually welcome to join the show by clicking on the link in the info box. All I would ask to the guests who do join is that you don't talk over each other. So far on the 10 that have preceded this show, the 10 debate shows that have preceded this show, it's been fairly cordial. It has got fairly heated at times as well, which is why I gave my disclaimers at the beginning of this feed, which is to say that were you to join, I would be probably a bit more strict on these later streams in terms of my requests to keep the language to a minimum. So yes, as I say, if you'd like to join the show, there is a link in the info box below this video. It's pretty much still on the chat feed that I can see. I will give a few shout outs to the chat. So good to have you here, Critical Thinking always, and Funtz Clark, thank you for being here, much obliged. Nichios knows, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Good to have you here. Says morning, Nathan. It's actually 2:15 in the afternoon here, but good morning to you. Sean G, thank you for being here. Nice to see you. Say no to mind control, says Funtz Clark. I agree entirely. Absolutely. Say no. When you're in those situations when you know you're under mind control. Yes. Flat World Takeover, good to see you here. I think that's probably it. I may transition back to my photographs and say one last plug. So if you are new to this channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to join the debate live, there is a link in the info box. There are only 2 rules. One is please do not swear, and the second is if you are ejected, you are warmly welcome to return on the next stream. So in that, I will transition back across to my photographs, pop myself on mute, and await our first guest. If there is one, hopefully we will see somebody on this debate, we shall see. May as well chat to the live stream chat feed in these transitional bits before we get a guest, as these bits probably get fast forwarded over anyway, so I can kind of talk to the chat without anybody really listening, because this bit probably doesn't get listened to on the replay unless there's something flashing up on screen, which there isn't, other than the Globebusters logo. Globebusters? My apologies. Ghostbusters, I should say. Anyway, so it's been nice the last couple of days. We've had Stephen, Patricia, and to a certain extent we saw him arrive, Mark Sargent, filling us in on the arrival to the conference out in Raleigh, and it was really, really nice seeing all the people arrive and, you know, glad hand the people that were already there and express their views on the flat earth, and it was just nice. It was very, very exciting, I won't lie, watching all of the different people arrive at the flat earth conference. So it should go really well. They're going to be off to the unveiling of the billboard, so that should be exciting today, and then that's pretty much it for today, as far as I know. I don't know if they're doing anything else, but I'm sure they'll all have a lot of fun. But yeah, they've all travelled some distance to be there. And it was nice. Martin was there with us on the call. I know he's in the chat at the moment. He's on with me later. May as well plug all of you who are in the chat. Thank you for being here, Multi-Tom-Tom and Raised by Gypsies. Good morning to you too. Yeah, Martin will be with me later, along with Jibby Jedi and hopefully Zoe Scribner, who was a little bit ill yesterday, although we did chat with her, so I'm hoping she'll be well enough today to do the show. And we're going to be chatting about history in terms of the heliocentric model and perhaps the flat earth deception in terms of its timeline, which we'll be discussing. I'm not going to put anything out at this stage, as I'm completely unopposed. I'm going to feel free to use the platform to talk about flat earth. Why not? Why the hell not? If anybody comes, I'll keep my mouth buttoned until someone else comes, that is. Lottie says, good to see you. Good to see you, JJ. Thanks for being here. Do I think force the line would work? Asks Nichio's Nose. Yeah, why not? You know, as far as I'm concerned, the Earth is obviously and observably flat, and I think any measurement of it with 90-degree perfect right-angled bolted together pieces would demonstrate that. So yeah, I think force the line would work, if I'm honest. I think we already have examples of it though in engineering, so I don't think it's all that necessary. You know, there's a couple of bridges that they bullshit about having engineered in curvature. I just don't believe it though. The rest of them are exactly that. They're just the force the line experiment. Just go to the keys. Flat Earth Christian Truthers, good to have you here. Ukdina Walker, we were talking about you yesterday. We said that if there was to be a competition for a Flat Earth leader, we would just hand you the keys to that car and say, here you go, Ukdina, you can run the thing. You can be our elder. Golden Gate doesn't. I assume you are saying that Golden Gate Bridge doesn't account for curvature. There's Sean G. Hopefully saying such flat earth heresy might encourage some globeheads to join. We shall see. Greetings, Dredge Society, is it? Good to have you here. Nope, says Sean G. I think he's agreeing with me in the negative. Nope, it doesn't have any curvature accounted. Ah, it says we're breaking up. Well, let me tell you this. The stream is perfect, but it goes out in very high definition, so it's 1080p. If you are having a crappy stream, it's because of your connection. I can guarantee you of that, because I'm looking at my figures in terms of what's dropped, how many frames. Now, I think coincidentally there has been 41 or so drop frames. Oh, no, there we go. It's now dropping frames. Amazing that the second you look at it, it drops a couple of frames, but I've dropped less than 100 frames, and given that it's 30 frames a second, you know, less than 3 seconds worth of frames over the last 13 seconds is not even noticeable. You know, no one's going to notice that. But if you are having a poor quality feed, it will be the case that you just need to lower the resolution settings. So just click on the little cog if you're on a PC or Mac and just lower it down from 1080 to 720 or 480 or whatever will give you a decent stream. But it should be perfect for everybody. Some computers just don't automatically drop the stream quality and will try and get it to your computer in the highest possible quality. Some people set it to do that way, not realizing that obviously your computer can't do more than it can do, or the internet connection moreover. So yeah, just lower the stream settings. But for those of you who do have a good connection, it means that when we do have demonstrations, as Mr. Grimm did on one of them, he had a ball bearing spun in a magnetic field or electromagnetic field, and then the guy literally puts a pen onto the ball bearing to demonstrate that it's being spun up by the electromagnetic field. Fairly simple stuff, realistically pretty simple. But it was nice to actually have the resolution to see that indelible black pen go onto the ball bearing, and you need a reasonably high resolution feed to do that, even to get it to scale down, so you can still see it at lower resolutions. So you have to start at a reasonably high resolution, which is, for anybody who's familiar with this channel, you'll have seen me repeating various streams, various old streams, and doing tech experiments on my other two channels, Nathan Oakley and Oakley Cord. And the reason for that was to get this stream to the quality that it is. I mean, I'm looking at it now on my iPad with a picture of Alice in Wonderland. Sorry if you're playing Guess the Movie. But yeah, it looks super crispy. You know, it looks really, really good. And that's the point. So that when there are people playing out videos and they don't maximize the screen, you can still actually make out what's on the video. It's not just some fuzzy mess. So that was the point of me going to all that effort. But yeah, there's definitely no dropped frames at my end, so it's good. You know, the stream is perfect. Just lower your resolution if it doesn't look so. Formerly, I've been trying to entice globeheads by saying flat Earth rhetoric, but I don't think it's necessary. I'm pretty sure that now that I've done 10 of these, people are aware that they are running, and if they are so inclined, they will join. We shall see. I'm only going to run this show for a couple of hours. Maybe that'll entice people. There won't be endless time to do these. I've done them at various lengths just to see how I felt about doing them. And regardless, if we have nobody join for an hour, we will have an hour of debating if that's the case. Good to have you here, horse-wearing people costume. And Frank Bucciuccio, however you say it. Good to have you here. Thank you for being here. Arwin, good to see you, my friend. Hopefully we'll have you on. Good participant in the past, for certain. Scrolling back up through the chat, see if I've missed anybody. If I've not said hello to you, my apologies. Good to have you here all the same, supporting the channel. If you want to stick me a few quid in the super chat, wonderful, that'll be much obliged. So far, with these, not so good, if I'm honest. Arwin says, Alice in Wonderland was said to be the story about the Federal Reserve and Wall Street. Is that so? I've heard Alice in Wonderland claim to be all sorts of things, I'm not going to lie. It was on the Alex Jones show like 5 years ago, says Arwin. Fair enough. Barqui, good to have you here. Says hello everybody. Flat World Takeover. Did I say hello to you already? If not, good to have you here. Good to see you, Daylight, Ohio. Your video the other day, I think it was maybe a day or maybe 2 days ago, about putting filters onto cameras, that generated quite a heated potato debate. Let's put it that way. With differing opinions. I may as well just say this in the live stream again. I think this probably won't get that much attention when it's played back. People will just want to see the arguing. But yeah, I agreed with your video. Having not made that much or taken that much attention to what the moon specifically was doing as it rose in regards to its positioning in regards to the moon, having them in front and behind. Now, having not paid attention when I listened to your video, I just thought, yeah, that makes perfect sense. You put a filter on and it changes how it looks. And so that night, after watching your video, I went out and did my job outside and watched the moon rise between the clouds. And I squinted, and obviously I don't have filters, it's only the naked eye, but as far as I could see, no matter what I did, it looked like it was coming up through the clouds, in front and behind. And it got me to thinking about putting filters on to look at the sun in terms of how it approaches. Now, if you look at the sun by the naked eye, obviously the amount of light that it is producing increases, it is getting bigger, there's no other way of describing it. But you put a filter on and it presents a different story when you actually see the disk of the sun. And if you were to ask someone like David Weiss deep inside the rabbit hole, he describes it as a beautiful dance between the lensing and refraction of the light and then the non-lensing as the sun is directly overhead where it would be at its biggest or closest, and that leaves you with the illusion of it being at the same size with a filter. And while I can understand and appreciate that explanation, it doesn't satisfy me enough because, in my view, it puts on the presupposition that the sun is a physical object, therefore would give you an angular change. And I don't necessarily know that that's the case, especially as you can change what it does with filters, you know, which is kind of bizarre, you know, for a physical object. Yes, it's emitting light, but, you know, there's all sorts of different effects that we are having on it. And the bottom line is we don't know what it is. So therefore we don't know what the filter is doing. So, yeah, we can see the effect of the filter, but like I say, we don't know how it's changing the original object if we don't know what the original object is. So it's a tricky one. The sun and the clouds behind the moon and in front of the moon, yeah, it certainly presents as being local. You know, to the naked eye, it looks like it's coming up through the clouds. It looks local. There's no other way of describing it. Close. But yeah, then you stick a filter on and, yeah, it looks as described in the heliocentric model. And, yeah, I've got no further words on that. I'm not going to draw any conclusions either way. I'm just saying it's extremely interesting. So thank you for that. Dayla, Ohio, much obliged. Very thought-provoking stuff. Let's see if we've got any new people. Bill G, good to have you here. Are any of you going to get in here and debate? Just going to listen to me waffle on. Good to see you, Joven Trendmaker. Sup, Nathan Oakley. Oh, sup, Satan Oakley, he says. Good to see you, Joven Trendmaker, who smells, apparently, I've heard. Been reliably informed he has a bit of an odour problem. So does Joven, poor sod. Never mind, it's all good. Hello, Brandon Cook, good to have you here. Says hello all. Say hello to Brandon, everybody. Got to be honest, I thought somebody would join by now to state their rhetoric. Bill G says, I'm at work. If I wasn't, I would jump on and keep you company if you asked nicely. Good to see you, Mr. Grimm. Thank you for being here, former participant. Nichi One Knows says, I'll keep you company, Nathan. Lol, if I can get on my phone. Of course you can. Just click on the link in the info box. That gives me an opportunity to do a plug. Why not? So, if you are new to this channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate, because of course at this stage the debate is absolutely riveting and you definitely want to keep up to date with it. So yes, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification icon. If you'd like to join the debate, which again is riveting and you'd be totally unopposed in your views if you would like to state them, click on the link in the info box below this video. I may actually stick a no, I won't spam the chat, why not? I've gone to the trouble of checking that it's in the info box, and it does actually appear there. Yes, it does, thank the Lord. So yes, if you'd like to join on your phone, it is just as easy. Just click on that link. It will take you through the sign-in process and take you to the main page for Google Plus Hangouts on Air. Please mute your microphone when you join and just simply unmute when you have something to say. If you're joining from a PC or Mac, please be sure to mute the stream that you are listening to now before you join the show. So the actual stream that you are watching, to click on the link, that needs to be muted, otherwise you'll cause feedback. So yes, other than that, that means you can keep in touch with the people who are in the chat if you want to pay attention to that. Some people find it a distraction if they're debating with somebody individually, but that's the way to do it. We have been joined. Let's see if we can hear anything from our friend. How are you doing? Oh, we've also got Arwin.
Hello.
Can't hear anything from them, but that's probably my audio problem. Hopefully you guys can hear him. Turn off my camera while I sort out my audio problem and leave these two to introduce themselves while I figure out why I can't hear them. Bear with me just 1 second, chaps.
Hello.
Kendall?
Kendall.
Yeah,
there we go.
right?
Now I can hear you.
So,
Yes, sir.
Sorry about
Looks
that.
like
I should actually make sure I
I've
can
seen one
actually
or
hear
two of
people.
your online videos.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Huh?
What do you think about it?
I also believe the Earth to be a flat plane, so you know we got similar points of interest. I think you go into some interesting theories. Me, I'm just here trying to figure things out.
All right. For how long?
You know, this is actually a pretty recent excursion for me, if you will.
How?
I'm probably only maybe 6 months into the whole interest in flat Earth.
Okay.
You know, when I was younger, I had my own little questions about mainly gravity. I didn't understand how things could be sucked in yet not sucked in at the same time. Because when this came along and I started looking into it, I was like, huh, this is a very interesting thing to look into. You know?
And how did you bump into it?
Crazy story. One of my friends actually was at a flea market and they walked by a picture of the globe on the back of a turtle.
Yeah.
You know, we see it now as the plane on the back of the three elephants on the turtle. You know, I think it's the Mayan or something like that.
That's a Hindu model.
Is it Hindu? Okay. I'm not, you know, particularly adept in all the knowledge to debate and stuff, but I'm very interested in it. But I was trying to find an image online of the world turtle and with the globe on his back, but all I kept getting was the flat earth model on the back.
Ha.
So a friend had mentioned to me maybe 4 months prior that, you know, he was looking into the flat earth theory. And I did, you know, what most people do, you laugh him off and you're kind of like, what? That doesn't make sense. You know, the edge, you fall off, blah, blah, blah. You know,
Yep.
so.
The assumption of outer space.
Right, yeah, no, I
It's.
just went back to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how they use it. Like we dream so much about space. It's been interwoven into our culture and into our visual studies, into our media. So it becomes
Right.
our dream. And
Oh, exactly.
They use this with everything. They use
And
our dream against us.
oh yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, they give us, you know, all these little pieces to let our mind really wander and fill in all the blanks to get ourselves fully emotionally immersed in the theory of space. Recently went on a binge and watched Brian Mullen's videos. I think he's got like 8 or 10 of them. And from a structural engineer standpoint, if he's having problems with this, you know, trying to understand it, you know, it's not as simple as, yeah, we live on a globe, it spins through space, and
Now,
that's what we do.
the inconsistencies are vast, but the system of the globe doesn't lean on correctness, on things fitting. It
Was
leans
listening this
on our
morning
dream.
was
It leans
speaking
on
with
our
this.
dreams, and it leans on our suspension of disbelief when we dream. And that's how with NASA videos, you know, when you look at it, it's always spacey music. People, when they look at it, they dream. It's like, oh wow. Always, it's all presented as a dream. It always touches dreamlike aspects. They try to do that to get you
Hello?
into the dream.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm waking up from this dream. You know, I see flatness, but the science, they have their witty little ways to make you doubt what you see, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
There's a lot
trying
of peer
to.
pressure involved.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If
Entire
you don't believe in a.
scientism hierarchy is intellectual peer pressure based. So
Oh yeah, if you don't believe in the globe, you're basically not smart enough to hang out with us.
yeah.
So we've been joined by
Hello.
Lewis. How you doing, Lewis?
I'm doing all right today.
Excellent stuff.
So just a moment ago, I'd like to respond to something that was said a moment ago, is that the globe's always presented in a dreamlike state. And I think that might just be your perception because humans dream. I mean, dreaming is a very powerful thing. In fact, and I mean, this may seem irrelevant, but I think it's entirely relevant. That's how prostitutes are able to get repeat business and outcompete each other, is the literal dreams that their clients have. That's why whenever you're with a woman, you have dreams about them after that for a long time, no matter how good or bad the connection with that person is. So, I mean, at the core of us, dreaming is very important, and it's something that happens to everybody. So I think it's in your mind that other things that are very important seem dreamlike.
Now, Lewis, what's the difference between a dream and a fantasy?
And what's the difference
Fantasy-
between NASA and prostitutes?
A fantasy you make up on your own and play and make it better as you go, and it's built on your intrinsic desires. And a dream is something that you may not necessarily want, but it's there, and it's based on your past experiences. So a fantasy is more set in the future about what you want, and a dream is more about what you liked.
Okay, so in your example of a prostitute, we like sex, right? I mean, I enjoy it.
Sure, right.
So if we like sex, we already had sex with a prostitute. Now we're fantasizing about what we could do the next time. And that's what causes us to call them back and be like, hey, you ready for another round? You know, I got such and such
No,
money.
they're doing it to you. They recognize the fantasy that you have and they play to it, and it's a individual case basis. So I mean, the really good ones are gonna always be like a dream because they understand that that's what brings you back, is they fulfill a deeper desire than others that don't try as hard.
But I would put that dream you're saying is actually a fantasy that you want played out. And yes,
I
the
mean,
prostitute
call
is
it what you
adept
like.
at doing
Call
it.
it what you like. I'm just saying the tendency is for humans to dream and want something beyond what they have, something that's better. And I
I'll
don't
agree
think
with
that
that.
applies to the globe. I just don't. And I think it's in your mind.
Well, I mean, if you want to take it to brass tacks, everything could be in our mind.
Absolutely.
Raising a good point.
So I mean that brings us to our opinions, which are all we have. So let's not knock them too soon.
Well, yeah, everybody has an opinion. That's why the saying goes, and opinions are like assholes. Everyone has them.
Yeah, but they're all we've got.
In the
So
aspect of
back to square one. If our opinions are all we've got, they're the explanations of the facts we see in the world around us that each of us have. We all have the same facts. We draw a different opinion from them. But
so
you know,
opinions are subjective, right?
yes, as everything about perception is subjective to change. Subject to change, rather.
Okay. If a new theory or a new way of looking at something comes out and everybody sees it as that way, then it is no
And
longer subjective.
what makes a good theory? What makes a good theory is how many predictions that it makes that come true. That's what makes a good theory, not whether it's true or not. Science has never been about trying to find objective truth. It's about sitting back and letting those things describe themselves. That's what it's about. And if you can predict the things you see better than other people with your theory, with your setup, then it doesn't matter if the reasons you think that setup are true. because that setup works and gets you predictions. So we could be all the math and all the geometry and the trigonometry and calculus we use that we have deduced from the way we think the heavenly bodies are and the shape of the earth is. That could all be a big misunderstanding. The earth could really be flat somehow, and there could be people totally avoiding all that and obscuring all the information and using secret methodologies that no one's aware of at all. That could be the case, but it's a much more complicated answer and much harder to control than humanity has a broken state and nature, a fractured nature, more like how the Bible describes, and we're having trouble getting along.
But you're saying that we don't know how they do it, but we do know. We've been figuring this out for 2 years.
Oh, how do they do it?
Well, watch the entire flat Earth scenery and what people talk about.
I have. That's not how they do it. I'd like to know what you think of how they do it.
Well, they invent something like radio communication. Then they
which
build
works
towers,
and how does that
Can
work?
I finish, please?
Yeah,
you
but I'm
asked
asking
me to
you.
explain
Yes,
something.
and you're
I'm
not
explaining
answering
now.
it. You're not answering it. I want to make sure we stay on the same page.
Okay, this is where goodbye. You always do this. Screw you.
Okay.
Thanks for being here, Arwen. Nice to have you. Hopefully you will return at some point in the future.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm on a truth for no, I'm on a truth. I'm on a search for information. That's what it really boils down to. I side more with the flat Earth model, just on the site of flatness and water lying level. Yes, I'm aware of the globe argument for it, but I'm not so set that I'm gonna write on my driver's license flat earther type shit.
So, what can the flat Earth model predict?
In the sky, I would say nothing. Not
How about
necessarily nothing, but as far as in the realm of the sky and our celestial bodies, if you will, the flat Earth, I see problems with it, just like the globe does. I'm not so adept in my understanding of what exactly all those are or how to come across figuring them out for the flat Earth model. But I'm not so worried about the sky so much because we should be able to measure the curvature and stuff here, right?
And we can and do, and it's not hard. It's very mundane and boring, actually. But and I mean, we can go into that if you want.
What?
Curvature.
Sure. I'm interested in learning all I can.
So, I mean, the furthest distance you're ever going to be able to see on the planet from the ground level, standing on your 2 feet,
Right, at sea level.
is looking over water. That's the furthest you're ever going to be able to see, because water is the flattest and lowest average object. I mean, there's not much to look at looking out over water, but you can see much further over water usually than over land, because land changes and does not, and very importantly, does not cool the air immediately above it. So the air immediately above the surface of bodies of water tends to be much cooler, and there's a thin layer of air that gets cooled by the coolness of the water. And what that does is it causes the light to bend around the surface of the earth much more readily. It doesn't happen perfectly, but it causes observers to see much further and warped images. And so you get things like lighthouses being seen from, like approaching 100 miles away, things that are ridiculous from even with masts, like a sailor on the top of a mast with a telescope or a periscope that goes up in the air wouldn't still be able to see that because there'd be too much curvature. But sometimes you get distorted images of things like lighthouses and other bright objects. I mean, there are some photos of Lake Michigan. That's not quite That's not. There's no point. 100. Lake Michigan isn't 100 miles wide, but there's the same principle happening there. You have a warped, magnified image that is visible from much farther than it typically would be, and it's because of the conditions of the water, and that's how refraction plays in to seeing long distances over water. It's not play in the same way when you're looking over land, because it doesn't happen over land. The air doesn't run into this cooling effect and causing the light to travel differently. So if
Can
you're
I
standing
interject
at,
just real quick?
yeah,
So you're saying if I was standing over an area of flat land, not sea, I should see curvature.
if you can see 69 miles perpendicular to your point of view on the horizon, there's 1 degree of curvature there. And that is 100% consistent on average, no matter where you go on the planet, and is directly visible on water because water reflects the shape of the Earth.
And this is where I go back into, well, I'm not super scientific, and to be honest, you kind of lost me in the middle there, but I've been trying to keep up. But that's where I'm not here for really debating, just learning.
All right. A lot of the times people bring up density and buoyancy as an explanation to replace gravity with, but
I believe that replacing gravity for the celestial part, but we still have to deal with the 9.82 meters per second squared.
Well, you can. There's still gravity in space, but you're moving at a momentum greater than 9 meters per second squared, so you don't ever hit the planet.
What are we talking about?
I'm talking about orbiting. So you said when you go to space, gravity, like you understand gravity there or something?
No, I don't believe in gravity in space, but I do believe in the thought of at least using the word gravity to explain why things drop at 9.8 meters per second squared.
Okay, great. Well, they do it in space too. Things drop at that rate in space too. It's
Well, they would if it was a vacuum, though. Well, and wait, hold on. If things drop at 9.8 meters per second squared in space, where's gravity coming from?
Oh, it comes from the Earth. It comes from the fact that the spaceship and the Earth are made of mass. They have mass. They are made of matter. So they have an attractive force, which plays out at 9.8 meters per second squared. The spacecraft is moving so fast that that acceleration matches the pitch and inclination change, the curvature of the Earth.
Okay, so you're talking about how things are falling, but they're not falling because they're flying.
No, they are
They're
falling.
falling at the rate of Earth falling type stuff.
Well,
right?
it's a function of the shape of the Earth. It's a gimmick that because the Earth is a ball and its surface curves continuously and changes constantly, it constantly changes the momentum of the things in orbit around it. It's kind of like an infinite motion machine, but not, because you can't capture the motion from that process. It won't, because if you tried to take energy out of that system, you wouldn't be able to. You'd deorbit. You'd fall back down because it would slow you down enough that the acceleration of gravity would bring you into the atmosphere.
Right. Okay. I'm kind of following now. Bear in mind, I apologize. I am at work right now. I'm able to, I'm very, not very,
Yeah.
I'm alone when I work, so I'm able to do, multiple things at once. So if I'm not 100% here, I apologize.
That's cool.
I would I would like somebody else to come into the debate so that I don't have to be the only one offering up arguments, if you will. So that's for you all that out there in the chat. Come on, get up in here.
It's a good opportunity for me to do a plug, so I'll do exactly that now. So if you would like to join the debate live, there is a link in the info box below this video. If you are new to Nathan Oakley's channel, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat, so feel free to stick some dosh in there to support this channel. And I'm going to hand back over, as I say, if you would like to join the show, there's a link. You are welcome to express your views, and all I will ask is that you do not swear, and if you do, and if you are ejected, that you are welcome to rejoin on the next stream. So I'll pass back over to these guys. We will see if we get any more rhetoric.
Lewis, can I ask you about Newton's law of universal gravitation?
Sure.
And the fact of I've played around with the numbers a little bit. I kind of understand the formulae, if you will, but I'm having an issue with how it relates to reality.
Well, those formulas are simply measuring the rate at which objects go back down. Like when you move an object and fill it with potential energy by picking it up, it now has the potential to fall. But that's only because there's the force of gravity. So those equations are just a measure of that process over time.
Okay, now my issue is the example part of it. Now you say, yeah, I can drop something and that's where the equation is showing it, but in a more controlled system, I guess. Because as far as I see it, is the equation gives you a number, and that number is supposedly whatever it is, the orbiting mechanic or whatever.
So
again, I'll say.
What do you postulate is causing things to fall down here on Earth?
Well, I've listened through the 10 debates prior to this. As far as I can see, I'm not 100% sure, but I have mildly started looking into that Thunderbolts project that Mr. Grim V was talking about, and how it refuted gravity, and trying to figure out if that, I mean, like I said, I'm only very mildly researching it, so I don't have all the information to say, but I was wondering if that could be transferred into the flat Earth model to show electromagnetism through plasma and the ether to simulate gravity on a flat plane.
You could try. I mean, you're free to try and figure that out, but I would say that would never work, and you would not be able to do that. Grimm's model relies on the shape of the Earth being a ball, first of all.
Why?
Because for all the same reasons I do. His misunderstandings about the world in relation to mine are not about the shape of the Earth. They're about electromagnetism and the subtle differences between all the invisible forces that we see the effects of. So you have gravity, you have electromagnetism, and you have the strong and weak atomic forces. And those are the four forces that we observe in nature. And the two last ones make up chemistry and quantum mechanics. That's where we look at those effects. But even in quantum mechanics, you get this randomness that's caused by the motion of the subatomic particles themselves. Because
but why does it rely on it being? Why does it rely on it being a globe? Why can we not use electromagnetics on a flat plane?
Well, because in his model, mass has something to do with electromagnetism, and in the flat Earth model, mass does not have anything to do with gravity. And so the argument from Grimm's point of view is that gravity is part of electromagnetism. If I'm not mistaken, that's essentially the claim he's making. And
like
flat
I said,
earthers say gravity doesn't work. So, I mean, you have a whole lot of different explaining to do to make up for that, to say, well, this is electromagnetism and this is how it works on the flat earth. Because from his point of view, it's just a special type of electromagnetism that is a function of matter. But matter does not seem to exist in the minds of flat earthers in the same way that it does for me and Grimm. And I don't think Grimm and I have the same perception of electromagnetism and matter quite either, but I'm just trying to represent what I think he thinks.
and that's fair enough. I'm not very intelligent in the ways of everything dealing with this either. So I mean, we're just speculating, I guess, at this point now.
I'm not really speculating, I don't think. I'm saying why I think some speculations are bad, but I wouldn't speculate on science that I don't know about, and I would, generally speaking, go with the science and trust it as long as I understand it and can if I could set up an experiment or make a prediction based off their models and it come true, then that's what matters. And if I can understand it, I'm going to be able to do that. So I would say it's much more likely, given my personal experience. Now, I know this may be solipsistic of me, but given my personal experience and success with the world using science, it makes me think people who disagree with it don't understand it rather than actually have proved it wrong.
I would say that's a fair assumption to make, or assertion. I'm not sure which one's which.
Yeah, it's an
And
assumption.
let's see. So my main hiccups with gravity are in relation to buoyancy and density, and why they are affected differently if gravity was to exist.
Okay.
You know, why a very lame example is like the helium balloons. They rise while the oxygen balloon falls.
Mm-hmm.
But they're both the same balloon size, both filled with the same amount of air, hypothetically.
Well, it's not air. It's gas.
Fair enough. I apologize for my inaccuracy in what I said.
So, I mean, like helium is the second lightest element on the periodic table. And recently, I didn't think this would happen. This is a little tangent. Some flat earthers that I've been talking to in chats are starting to actually deny chemistry and molecular and atomic theories altogether, which, I mean, puts them in a very questionable boat, especially when they try to explain things like the water cycle. But that is a tangent, like I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
What did you ask, or what did you say initially? I'm sorry.
Dealing with buoyancy and density in the
Oh,
place of helium and oxygen in
right. So,
balloons of the same size filled with the same amount of gas.
right. So, I mean, it's that they have a different type of gas in there. They have the same volume of gas in two balloons, but one gas has has an atomic weight that is much less than the other balloon. So, even though there may be well, no, actually, there's less. There's less helium. There is literally fewer atoms of helium in that helium balloon than there are in the oxygen, because there
Right,
can't
that's what
fit
makes
as
it lighter
many.
than air.
Right, exactly. So you have the effect of all the air around it pushing it down, and it rises like a bubble, or pushing, trying to get underneath that balloon. It's the air pressure surrounding trying to fill that vacuum, or the low pressure pocket. And so it keeps rising until it pops, because it'll cross the boundary where it's neutrally buoyant. But before that happens, the rubber will probably give out, because
And
helium's a
pop
lot
up in
lighter
the,
than air.
yeah.
And I mean the oxygen, I mean, that's heavier than air already, so it's going to fall.
Well, it's the same as air because we live in oxygen, no?
Oh, well, only a little tiny bit of our atmosphere is actually oxygen. I think it's like 10% or something.
Okay, well, in this hypothetical example, I was talking about just like not exhaling into a balloon, but say taking a tire pump and airing up a balloon.
Oh,
So
well,
it
pump.
would have been the same as us, no?
No, a tire pump doesn't have oxygen. Have a way to get you pure oxygen. So
I
a tire
wasn't.
pump.
No, that's what I'm trying to clarify. Is I wasn't speaking on the terms of pure oxygen.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. All right, yeah. I mean, that's the weight of the rubber falling in that case because it does have
Yeah,
the same.
exactly.
Yeah. And I mean that's
So,
interesting. So in that case, actually, let's change the example, right? So let's take an
okay.
uninflated balloon that's the same exact dimensions as another balloon, right? But we fill one of them with air, and then you see which one falls faster, and then you can see how the aerodynamics of that play into the situation, and you can learn
Right. Though
whole different other things about the mysterious invisible force that you see causing the objects to fall.
now, now, why, why, uh, why gravity? I guess. Why not
What?
electromagnetism? I mean, I can't. Never mind. I take that back
Well,
because I can't really speak on it. So, if you want to
yeah.
just ignore that, go ahead.
All right. But I mean, I've thought similar things throughout my life, and my physics teacher beat it into my head at one point that they're not the same, and that's just the theory of it. The teacher never said that it couldn't be the way that it is, but physics, as it's currently understood, cannot make predictions by assuming gravity is part of electromagnetism, and when you do assume that, you run into problems because electromagnetic forces tend to have a pair opposite force to go with it as well. There's a cycle of forces involved with electromagnetism.
So we've been joined
And
by Jonathan Roberts. Sorry to interrupt you, Lou.
Sorry.
So just say a quick hello to Jonathan. Good to have you here, my friend.
More people?
yeah,
There's no echo there, is there?
Yeah, it's all good. If you can just pop yourself on mute when you're not talking, if you would, Jonathan. But yeah, we're hearing you loud and clear.
Hey, all right.
Good to have you here.
So you were saying, Lewis?
that gravity doesn't have, as far as we can tell right now, an opposite opposing force cycle. So you have if you have two positive magnetic fields, they repel. If you have opposite magnetic fields, they attract. We don't have a similar way of looking at gravity. Now, I mean, we've come up with the concept of dark matter, dark energy recently, which makes it. The claim is that the universe is expanding faster all the time. All the things of matter are separating from each other and receding from each other at an equivalent rate, or not an equivalent rate, but relative to how fast an object moves away from one object to another. That's the same rate, but it's an accelerating rate all the time, and that could be an answer as to the opposing force of gravity there, but it has not been presented that way, and it's not really
Well, get
flushed
on it
out.
there, Luis, man. Come on, make a name for yourself in science.
Well, I'm not totally confident. That's just my understanding of it.
Right. And I'm here purely speaking, just to speak on, I guess, flat Earth side. I can't do very much. Hopefully, we can get somebody of, not to say, I don't know, more to say than I have.
All right.
Oh, let's see. So, yeah, I don't know.
Sean G, I thought your gravity has things fall, the Earth comes up at the same rate. Well, you know about inertia, right? Objects at rest tend to stay at rest. Inertia is the tendency for an object to not want to adjust its momentum. It wants to stay in the same motion state that it's in. So when you jump, for example, you have much less inertia than the Earth. So you move much more readily than the Earth does. But yes,
Sorry,
the Earth in
could I
fact
just
does move. Yeah.
Sorry, could I just interrupt? Did he just say about the flat earthers understand that the Earth is rising up to account for gravity? They're rising up through space. Is that what you just said? Because
No, that's
something
not.
from society.
That was not the argument he made, but I have heard
Oh,
that one
sorry.
before. That argument I haven't heard made by a flat earther in a very long time.
No. Any
Because it's completely bollocks.
Yeah.
yeah, it is complete bollocks, and it's only from the Flat Earth Society you'll hear that. It's just so that the thing you put into the search engine, if you put into Google, flat Earth, you will come up. The top result is Flat Earth Society, and it's designed as a co-opted agency to designed to put people off with such ridiculous things as we are flying up the other way, and that's what the force that pushes us down, and they get the image of a upside down, truncated world. Basically, it looks stupid. And I think it's just designed the whole Flat Earth Society is there just to put people off. They just think, oh God, what? That's their answer for gravity. I'm not even going to look at the next thing that they say or whatever. Anyway.
Nope. I mean,
Well,
if we were rising up at enough to equate for 9.82, wouldn't we see the stars moving down instead of in a circle, and B, wouldn't we be smushed to the ground as we accelerate upwards?
well, that's what, yeah, I mean, and that is what the explanation is for. It's supposed to say, well, you're in a car and you don't feel yourself pressed against the seat unless you're accelerating forward and changing rate. So it's when you're getting up to speed that you feel that pressure going back to your seat. So in the same way, the arguments for the Earth accelerating upwards at 9.8 meters per second squared. But I mean, the problem with that is you have a continuously accelerating Earth, which is a tremendous addition of energy into the whole thing forever.
Right.
So it's like, how fast are we moving? We just keep moving faster and faster all the time.
We ain't moving at all.
Right. We're not moving at all.
Like that.
Well, we hold separate opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah. That wasn't.
So,
I was just responding to Sean G, and he was trying to. He was trying to prod my understanding of gravity.
So, what was I just thinking about? It'll come back.
I'll do another plug, if you don't mind. So if you would like to join the debate live, click on the link in the info box below the stream and you can join and express your views. I will try my best not to interject, other than to say, I've forgotten your name, the guest who's got no icon. If you can pop yourself on mute just when you're not chatting, that would be much obliged, just so we don't get your door creaking and whatever it is that's going on. That would be really great. So yeah, if you'd like to support the channel, stick some dosh in the super chat. And if you're new to Nathan Oakley 1980, click on the subscribe button for Flat Earth videos and interviews. I'm going to pass you back to these guys, and if you'd like to join the show live, click on that link in the info box and you can debate these guys right here and right now.
Hooey. But I mean, if the stars, back to the accelerating upwards Earth, if the stars are, you know, billions and trillions of light years away, no, I don't think we'd be able to see the stars moving, even if we were accelerating towards them like that. For the same reason that we don't see the parallax in the stars as we go around the sun. It's because the distance around the sun is really small compared to the distance you're looking at towards the stars. So going around this area doesn't cause like distortion there. It's just like looking down a road, a really long road, and closing one eye and opening the other to see if you notice a difference in the change of position way down there. Or step, or just moving your head like that. Like you're not going to see an object down there appear to have parallax.
Is there any way you can tell us how they came up with these figures to say that the nearest star is X amount of light years away, or
right?
What's your take on that?
They use a couple of different methods and intertwine them together. So there's a process of trial and error to figure out. So there's a couple of things that can affect the light. It comes down to looking at the light and analyzing the light coming from the stars in particular ways with different types of telemetry. And they'll give you different results because they describe different things about the light, and you can have different effects. So if the star is really far away and the acceleration away from you and the star you're looking at caused by the expansion of the universe is great enough, it'll cause the light to change color and be a more reddish color. And that has to be taken into account when you try and figure out how far away it is, because it's kind of like warped its initial value. So the close things, they don't have to use the added steps. I'm not totally sure if I'm right on that. You could probably look it up, and you might find that I'm wrong about some of these things. But it comes down to analyzing the light and the position of where it is in the night sky in relation to the observer.
So what would you say to the Aries failure and the Michelson-Morley experiment?
Oh, well, that whole experiment was set up to see if there was an ether that the Earth was moving through, and if there was, it would cause some little thing in the experiment to move when they did something, but nothing happened, and so it was deduced that the ether does not exist. But I can see how if someone's understanding of the ether is entirely different than the conception of the ether at the time, the language would completely confuse them, and somebody might look at that and think, well, my understanding of the ether is not disproven by this experiment.
Now, Lewis, I just recently heard about this morning, the Sagnac experiment.
What is that? I don't.
It's, I guess, an experiment similar to Michelson-Morley's experiment, but instead of trying to see if the Earth was moving, having a stationary thing, they moved the board and rotated it, and they found, again, I just heard about this morning, so,
How do you spell it?
Beats me, man. Sagnac experiment.
S-A-G-N-E-T.
One more time.
S-A-G-N-E-T, I believe.
But I heard it postulated that it proved that there was an ether.
It certainly did, and it proved that the stars are rotating, not us, dependent on what you want to believe.
Okay, well, the result of his experiment can be explained in a few ways. I mean, you'd need to know how perfect his mirror was, if there were any malformations on it at all. And you could do that by simply analyzing the light as you slowly rotate the whole thing to notice how those the fringes of interference change. That would be very easy to do. So there, it could be his mirror. It could be stuff. Yeah, the mirror might not be clean, might not be perfectly shaped. Those things would need to be made for sure of. But if
Well,
if he does this on, 100 different mirror tables and gets the same consistent results of interference every time, then we might have something there.
this is something that's been repeated, it's testable, it's measurable, and it's been done hundreds and hundreds of times. And nowadays we have even more better interferometers. Am I right in saying that is the correct word? I think that's right.
I mean, I don't see how this would prove ether. Assume the mirror is perfect, right? How does that prove ether?
Pass. I'm going off what it says on when I read the results and watch the YouTube videos when people break it down.
Oh, well, I break it down for myself. Like I Googled it here and I'm looking at it. Like this is...
From what I heard is the rotation of the table causing a light, the light that was split to move at a slower rate in one portion is what proves that the ether is there, because it's moving through the ether as the table is rotating it, slowing it down. This is what I heard. No, I can't. I'm not a scientist that has done this, so I can't speak on absolutities or whatever.
Well, the direction of travel of the light as the table turns is it changes relative to the rest of the beam of the light. So you have a table moving in one direction and the light changing directions on this table, which means at some point you're going to have the light traveling in the opposite direction that the table is moving, which means from the points where that's happening on their two reflective surfaces that beam of light has been bounced from, the light's traveling physically a further distance because the wheel is moving and it's in the opposite direction. Actually, I flipped that around in my mind. It's when the wheel is moving with the light that it's traveling a further distance. Does that make sense? So you could have the same effect as if the light were being slowed down. It's just because it's traveling a slightly further distance in one spot.
In my head, it makes sense, but I mean, that's the danger zone, isn't it?
A lot of the time, yeah, it seems like the last variable is us, so that's why peer review is so important. You want to get everybody else to make it so that they're also the last variable, and hopefully you can find the common ground.
Fair enough.
I mean, that is what science tries to do. It does, yeah.
To the best of their abilities.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a process that most of us don't even employ at all. So I mean, they're employing it's the process they use that is good. It's not them. It's the process. So, I mean, anybody could do it. What makes a good scientist, I guess, is how much time it takes them to do it. Because time is everything.
Makes sense. Well, I'm going to get out of here because I don't want to just sit on mute for all of you to see, so I got to get back to work.
Nice meeting you. Yep. Have a good day.
Nice meeting you guys, too. I hope to come on maybe as a little bit more of an intelligent debater, Thanks for having me on.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you for being here, Kendall. Hopefully we will see you again in the future. And I'll plug again, if you'd like to join this stream, we've been going for about an hour and a quarter now, so maybe 3/4 of an hour left of debating time. If you'd like to contest either of the two current panellists, Jonathan Roberts or Lewis Hackett, feel free to do so by clicking on the link in the info box below this video. If you'd like to support the channel, hit the super chat, and if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate.
So let's talk about weather. Why do you think weather happens?
Well, we're told that it's the spin of the Earth, correct?
It's not quite just that, but why do you think? Why do you think we get these weather systems that tend to move in, starting in the east and moving west?
Well, my belief is that we are on maybe not an infinite plane, but we are like a geothermal pocket carved out of the ice, if you like. And hey, there may be other ones elsewhere, and what's to say that the wind isn't coming from another factor that we're not aware of? But it's just science has given us the globe, and with their pretty easy answers for it.
They weren't easy.
Well,
took people a long time to come up with that.
Spin of the Earth. Then what else do you say creates the weather?
The sun constantly causing a hot spot on one side of the planet, the spin of the planet, and and what is in the atmosphere. You
don't just mean the wind, obviously. You mean everything, you know.
Yes, storms, rain, everything. It's all a direct result of the tremendous amount of energy added to the Earth by the sun every second, and how that energy is radiated back out into space, and what the interaction of the border on the morning and night side of the planet have. There's a unique interaction because there's a higher difference in the temperature and air properties immediately on the night side turning into morning side, as well as on the daytime turning into night side. But those two borders tend to be where weather systems develop as the Earth turns. And to put it in perspective, I know a lot of people don't believe in nuclear bombs, but the amount of energy the sun adds to the Earth's atmosphere every second is like a Tsar bomb, which is the largest nuclear bomb that the world's ever seen. It was made by Russia. So there's like one of those every second. It's just that much energy. And so that causes the weather. That's the ball model. I mean, there's clearly a lot of energy going on in the atmosphere. There's clearly a lot of motion. And I think that requires an explanation. And I think the ball explanation is pretty good. Pretty concise. It explains it.
So the Earth and do you believe that the Earth and the atmosphere are all spinning at the same time or at the same rate, and then we have the weather in between?
Well, the weather is about.
Make any sense to me. It just seems ridiculous.
The weather is trying to actually reach an equilibrium of momentum with the Earth itself, because they're not quite spinning at the same speed, but that's only because there's a difference in pressure created by the addition of energy on the daytime side of the planet. So that's a disturbance. If, on the other hand, the entire surface of the planet was not illuminated and it was all dark, you wouldn't have weather at all. Or if the intensity of the light was so bright and the planet was spinning much faster, there wouldn't be enough time on the nighttime side to radiate all that heat out, and the planet would just heat up very fast, and the weather would become very meshed, and it wouldn't be a reaction to reach equilibrium, because that would be so far out of reach. But on a cold planet, the atmosphere would absolutely find equilibrium, and there would be no weather whatsoever. Oh my gosh, Dell. So far.
It looks maybe like we've been joined by B on the imaginary curve. We shall see.
You've got
Maybe.
your microphone echoing. How are you?
Oh yeah, good to have you here, Del.
It's nice to see you.
Good evening.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Are you nervous, Louis? Are you nervous, son?
No, I'm waiting to hear what you're going to say.
Well, you should be nervous because you're spouting sophist nonsense, wee man.
Sort him
Like
out,
what?
Del.
Like what?
Well, let's have a wee start. We'll focus on the claim, shall we?
Which one?
Since that's the accepted claim, the globe.
Okay, which part about it?
Well, have you any proof for it? Do you have any measurable proof that it's a sphere?
Which one? Oh, yeah, absolutely. My own eyes.
Go for it. Let's hear it.
My own eyes. I've seen the
Your eyes?
curvature.
Your own eyes, you can see the curvature where?
Anytime you look at a mountain, anytime you look at a city from far away, you can't see the bottom of the city. That's because there's curvature between you.
Jeremy! Jeremy's right here. What do you want, Malky? What do you want?
Okay.
Well, you can stop calling me an alky for a start.
Well, you displayed alcohol.
Well, I thought all claims had to be supported, Del. So what's your evidence that I'm an alky?
Whoa, Del, this is a polite venue here.
Well, I'm being very polite. Very polite.
Yeah,
Not sworn once.
you can
Well,
be
you
more
just called me
polite.
an alky. That's not very
I
polite.
haven't sworn once. Oh, Jeremy, don't act like you've got such a wee soft touch to you.
All right, let's go back to the ball, right? 'Cause
Right.
that's why we're
Let's
here.
go, because the ball is utter lunacy, wee man.
It's
You have
not. I'm
absolutely-
sorry that you don't understand it.
Absolutely. Look, I understand your sophistry very well.
Oh, you do. So what's wrong with it?
Nothing in direct reality, nothing in practical reality would even suggest that it's remotely possible that you're living on a fucking rock in a vacuum. Okay? Nothing.
Yeah. What?
Absolutely nothing.
That's exactly what happens.
Give me one practical example of what would even suggest it's remotely possible.
Well, gravity, the force of gravity.
Gravity
That's
is just
one.
You know, if you're just going to use words, I'll just say
Well,
quantities.
Well,
You
what
feel-
specifically is a practical example? What does that
You
phrase
feel-
mean?
Practicality for all claims, Jeremy. You know fine well.
No, I don't. No, I don't. What
Here's
does?
the fundamentals. Let me speak. Okay, here's the fundamentals. If we're talking about science that I talk about is based in natural science. There has to be substance, which means every single claim you're making and every aspect of your claim must be shown practically with substance.
Right.
Is it
My
possible-
question is.
No mathematical equations.
Okay,
no
I've heard your answer. Okay, I've heard your answer. I'll now repeat my question because the answer you gave wasn't the answer to my question.
Oh, isn't
my
it, Jeremy?
question is-
Never
So
happy,
my
sir.
question is, what specifically is a practical example? What does that
Practical-
phrase mean?
Practicality, substance, Jeremy. So anything I
But
claim.
now you're just saying words.
Well, I'm going to give you
Phrase
examples.
means-
Shut
Let
your
him
mouth.
finish, please, Jeremy.
Just a meaningless phrase.
No, it's
Jeremy,
not
just let him
meaningless
finish.
phrase. Everything that this technology you're using right now, the clothes you're wearing, everything about you is based on practicality. It's based on substance. No
What-
theory.
What
No
we
one-
both know is when you say practical example, you mean a scale model. That's what you
Well,
mean.
scaling the model should be there as well. If it's reality, you should be able to show it in any scale.
But that is what you mean, isn't it? Let's
No,
be
it's not. No, it's not.
Like,
Listen,
As the flat
Okay, so
earthers
give
say.
me an example.
Whoa,
of-
one at a time,
Okay,
one at
give
a
me-
time.
Give me a practical example of a volcano.
Jeremy, don't start using miss fucking
No,
nonsense.
that was perfect. That was perfect.
Please,
You're gonna
no
come in
swearing.
like a retard and
Right,
act
just
like
whoa,
you're
whoa,
throwing
whoa,
around
all, whoa, whoa,
What is a
whoa.
volcano, Jeremy?
throwing around
Just
What is
gonna
a
have to stop
volcano?
you all and
I'm
introduce
asking you
Mr.
for a
Grimm. Just
practical-
one
what
second,
would a
gentlemen,
practical
please.
example of a
Just
volcano
one
be?
second, gentlemen. So if I can just say hello to Grim V, pleased to have you here, and please do
Hey,
not
what's up, Nathan? How
swear.
you doing, buddy?
So
Yeah.
just take this as your first warning, Del. I will boot you. I just don't want any swearing on the stream. Please do not swear.
I swear. Oops. So, Jeremy, your volcano nonsense. What exactly is a volcano, Jeremy? And please explain and show us why you know what it is.
Who are you to ask any questions? You can't even present a working model.
I'm asking you what a practical
present a working model of
volcano would look like. I'm trying to determine. You've asked me for a practical example. I'm trying to determine what a practical example is that you would accept.
Hey, if you're gonna play guitar, could you mute your mic?
Yeah, we took care of that. You're muted.
You're muted,
come on.
Del.
No need to mute people. No need.
Fair enough
no
to
need.
let you know about it.
Are we finished? Are we finished fucking rabbiting?
Are you finished?
All right.
You finished playing the guitar?
Let's talk about water, because you like to talk about water, right?
Let's talk about whatever you want, Louis, son. I'm asking you.
Good. Water.
All
right. So we're going to talk about water then. Shut up.
I claim you often made.
First principles sorted out first.
Zip it.
Let's get first principles sorted out first.
Okay, what do you want
water,
the first principle to be?
Let's talk about one thing at a time, Del. Water. You agreed to talk about water.
Tell Nathan, is this the best you can do, my man? I mean,
are you just going to talk, or are you going to shut up and let the guy talk?
I'll tell you one thing about water. It's flat.
This is the desperation. You know, as soon as you appear, you get these morons appearing in.
Well, Del, the thing is, you constantly insult people all the time, so we're trying to stave that off. We're trying to avoid the insults, which is just what you do.
Del, let me ask you.
Everybody's just yakking.
You make the claim that I believe this is how you put it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you make the claim that large bodies of water are always level. Is that right? Is that how you say it?
Yes, water. If it's a body of water, it's no flowing.
How have you determined that?
Well, you can go and check the liquid yourself. It's well established, Jeremy.
Well, how have
it's not. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Are you trying to suggest that at some unspecified scale of water?
I'm asking you how you know it. You say all claims have to be supported. How do you support this claim?
Because I can demonstrate how liquid behaves.
But that wouldn't be a large body of water. How do you know a large body of water is flat?
Here's the thing: you want to suggest that it's going to change at some unspecified scale.
So you have no way to support this claim.
I'm asking you, Jeremy, exactly at what scale is that going to happen? You need to provide it, because if you're claiming something,
you're claiming
what happens at 1 mile. At 1 mile, you can see 8 inches.
You need to provide that.
1 mile, you can detect.
You need to provide that, Del, because you're the one.
This is just a bunch of sophist clowns rattling a load of crap.
Anyway,
I'm trying to respond
call
to
me one more name and find out what happens.
I'm trying to respond to you.
I'll clown the shit out of you 30 minutes straight, dude.
But who are you, Roger Rabbit?
I'll do this whole thing just to prove you. I'm Mr. Grimm, homie. You better recognize who the fuck I am. Yeah, you know who the fuck I am.
No need. Please don't swear.
There's a sweary word.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, my bad.
Mr. Grimm, your big man, hard man attitude's not going to change anything. You're just a clown, man.
Yes, it doesn't need to change anything.
Look, if we can avoid insulting each other for just 5 minutes and allow somebody to speak and make a salient point, that would be, just normal. That would be just perfectly normal. So let's give it a try. Let's give it a try. Let's imagine. Let's imagine.
Answer your first question there.
And these people are nervous. They're just not listening. So it's their problem. I can have a conversation with anybody. It was fine
until these conversation now, are you? You're insulting.
I just got in here.
Everyone is biting in at the same time because you know I'm a threat to you. So just shush and see if you can have one-on-one conversation.
Sometimes there are
threatening anybody.
You're just annoying people and people just jump in. So it's not about confusion. It's the fact that there's multiple people here who aren't working together. Okay? That's why everyone's talking together. We just need to be patient and give each other time to speak. It's not complicated. So let's just calm down and realize that for every 69 miles of horizon, there is 1 degree of curvature. So if you can see 69 miles, hey, hold on, Del, hang on 1 second, Del, because I'm speaking.
Because you're a sophist.
I'm actually talking. Look, Del, let me finish what I'm saying, and then you can respond to it. Let me finish, and then you can respond to it. That's how it's.
If you got nothing to worry about, Del, let him explain why. If you really got nothing to worry about, then just let him talk.
Okay, yeah,
all right, Del?
69 miles of curvature, 1 degree. Or 69 miles, 1 degree of curvature. What you got?
69 degrees, 69 miles, 1 degree of curvature. What is the foot? How many feet of curvature should there be from one end to the other over your 1 degree?
From the center, there's going to be about...
From one point to the other.
No, don't do about.
Oh, from one point to the other, it's going to go through the horizon. There won't be any.
There'll be nothing, so it's flat.
Right, you have the curvature is measured from top down, from the observer's point of view down.
It's a ball, Louis. The curvature should be everywhere.
A sphere.
No, you don't understand.
No, you don't understand.
No, you don't. Yeah.
You don't understand. I'm asking you specifics, the same as Jeremy. I'm asking for specifics.
You're saying the word specifics. You're saying the word specifics, but you're using it in the wrong context.
You don't understand what you're talking about.
Just because you can string words together doesn't make them correct.
Well, we're not getting to hear them, Lewis. One at a time. Just one at a time.
This is why I don't get involved in.
Well, you can use a ruler. You can put it in frame.
Looking from left to right, you're still only seeing.
Imaginary curve where you can have a rational discussion, where you don't have this interruption.
Yeah, but there is no rational discussion.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You're bullying people.
They don't have a clue what
And you're trying to do it here.
No,
and you're making
all you do is yell at people.
You're talking over
Fuck out of
everyone.
here.
You're insulting people. It's pathetic.
Dang it, I can't stop cussing. I'm trying to. This isn't a rugby match, dude. Don't come at me acting like an idiot.
What Louis needs to do is verify exactly.
Del, I don't need to do anything. Del, you need to listen and be patient. You need to listen and be patient.
It's been done, Del.
Jeremy has to explain how many.
Del, we don't have to do a thing.
The physics as we know them start to change.
Del, we don't have to do a thing.
Yes, you
do.
do.
I suggest you leave. You're not welcome here.
So shut up.
It's already done, Del.
Well,
It's already done, Del. We don't need to create a new way to clickbait people into money, do we? Oh yeah, I guess you do.
So Del comes on
once
to
the
plug
flat
his
Earth
own
is done,
show
you better jump
and
on to
try
the next
and make
little hot.
Del,
baby.
leave. Del, you're just here for advertising for your own show. That's all you're doing.
Me and Louis here for a wee 5 minutes and all you leave.
Well, you're not arguing about anything.
On your flat
We're
Earth.
not
getting,
arguing about anything.
none of you are being heard. None of you can be heard. You are all talking over each other. Mr. Grimm, Louis, please, one at a time.
Why doesn't Mr. Grimm and Jeremy go away and leave me and Louis to have a one-on-one conversation here?
Why? Because you think you're going to have a conversation with somebody for real?
Well, because I was having a conversation with
you.
You
Came in
Yeah,
calling
you
everybody
can tell,
names, talking all kind of crap, being a big knucklehead. You know what I'm saying? And then now you're acting like, oh, well, I can behave if somebody stops treating me badly. Shut up. Don't be the victim here. You came in swinging. So you got swung back on. Now you're going to cry about it.
Mr. Grimm, we serious insecurity problems, we man. You're probably a bully and a abuser. So just
leave
shut
your
your mouth.
insecurities at home.
Shut your mouth.
Shut my mouth.
I came in here before you appeared in here.
Tell me one thing that's factual about the flat Earth. That'll shut me up. Tell me one thing about your model. Show me your flat Earth model. That'll shut my mouth. Tell me something factual for a change.
This is it, people.
Go,
See, because I'm right to them. This is the
Go,
test. Because they don't have a clue.
Mr. Grimm,
could just
Mr. Grimm,
start
you've asked him
trying,
a...
Del.
Hold
You
on,
could start trying to
Louis,
explain
Mr.
it.
Grimm.
Shut
It's just...
up,
Hold
whoever he
on,
is, he's
you've
a
all
bully.
just asked him a really specific
Is
question.
it buoyancy or is it density?
Shut up. Just shut him
You
up.
could be respectful. You could be respectful, Del.
It's
You'd be more
mostly Louis.
compliant.
I've got to be honest.
Del, I'm sorry, baby boy, but you're going to get your own medicine when you're messing with people like us because we don't care about your little problems and your little crybaby money problems and how you're sucking
Grimm,
people
let
up.
him-
Sure, but you
Grimm,
are
let
asking
him
him a direct
It ain't about
question,
that for
Grimm.
us.
At least
Let
let
him
him
spew.
answer. So at least let him answer the question without trolling him. I mean, you're free to troll him, you know, but by the same token, we can't hear anything.
Yeah, I mean, he came in, got us riled up.
Oh,
Let's
God,
calm
Louis,
down.
you're off again. You can't help yourself. Jeez, man. Pop yourself on mute. Get yourself a cup of coffee. We've heard enough from you. No disrespect. I love having you on, but just try to button it for a few minutes. Just let them interject. Mr. Grimm's asked him a question. Let him answer it.
You know that.
Why should I believe in your flat Earth model? Give me one factual piece of evidence that pushes me towards that area. And don't say anything that you've already said before because I've heard all that. And it doesn't work. I'll wait. Not for too long. Didn't I ask you a question? Was it density and buoyancy? Is that your answer to gravity?
I think he's turned it off, Annie.
Yeah.
I would too if I was Dell.
Yeah,
He's that way, you know.
for gravity.
Solipsistic. I'm going to take your advice and go get some coffee. I'll be back.
But I still didn't find out how he knows that large bodies of water are flat.
Have we calmed down? Have we all calmed down now?
Oh, yes.
The nerves. So you need to stop your nerves from getting there.
I'm glad you're here to check on us, Dal.
Right, stop butting in. This is why I booted you from my hangouts, because you continually butt in. Right, just control yourself. Right, and that Mr. V, he's got nothing to offer. I'm not interested in speaking to him. He's an absolute clowny a boy. Right, so let's get back to where we were before we were rudely interrupted. Jeremy, exactly how large does the body of water have to be before it will start to display convexity upon its surface? Can you give me an exact figure, please?
I already answered that.
Mr. V, I'm not asking you. Shut up.
You punk. I already answered that.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the question I want to ask you, Dal, because you're the one that defines the large body of water.
No.
Hold on, let me finish. So what I want to know is what qualifies something as a large body of water as opposed to a not large body of water, small body of water, whatever you call it.
Well, before I go any further, water defines level, Jeremy, okay? Liquid.
Oh my God,
water.
no, answer the other question.
Grim, for God's sake.
I'm answering it. I'm answering the question. Water defines level. Everyday direct observations and practical use.
In bathtubs.
Is beyond any shadow of a doubt that water does not have the ability to conform to the exterior of any object and display it upon its surface. Water will seek and maintain its level. If there is motion upon the water, like wind, waves, you will have waves, you'll have movement on the water, but the body in itself will be level from one point to the other.
Okay, how do you know that?
How do you do it? I run a bath every single day. I run the
right,
tap
but the bath isn't a bath isn't a large body of water, is it?
Jeremy, this is the point.
Specifically said large bodies of water.
Saying that, Jeremy, I'm asking you to be specific.
No,
What size does a body of water have to be beyond what we observe and test in everyday reality before the
at least a mile to see
when we test
right?
At
least a mile, right? To see
when we test in everyday reality.
Nathan, this is a shit show, mate. Nathan, this is an absolute shit show.
To answer the question.
You're not a moderator with consistency.
I'm trying to answer the question now.
The fact that these clowns are butting in every 2 seconds and no answering the question that they're putting.
I'm trying to answer the question.
But they're welcome to, Del. They're welcome to. All I ask
You're asking
is
how
that
much,
you don't
how much
swear.
you want to see. I said 8 inches in a mile.
No, he's not. He's saying that when he looks at a bath, it's level.
I know.
And if I'm claiming that the ocean is curved,
I can't believe he's that dumb, and I'm granting him.
Jeremy, it's not just the bath. That's liquid. That's how it behaves.
Right, but how have you determined that the bath is level?
What do you mean how did? Because it doesn't run out anywhere.
But how have you determined that the water is level? Because let me flesh out the point for a second, okay? If we are as proposed on a sphere which is 24,901 miles in circumference, how much curvature would you expect to see in a bath of water if it was curved as is proposed with an ocean? How much curvature? Hold on.
Prove your
let me
premise
finish the question. I'm nearly there. How much curvature would you expect to see, and what tools have you used to determine if that curvature is or isn't there in your bath?
0.000286 curvature. In the
right. So how do you know that that is or isn't there in your bath?
He can tell with his own eye.
Because liquid does not have the ability to behave like that.
But how do you know this?
Because I can test it every single day. And so
how are you testing it? What process are you using to test it?
How can you test something that you don't have? The liquid is more accurate than any instrument you could possibly come up with.
But how do you know that? How are you determining?
It's applied every single day in reality.
How have you determined the water in your bath is...
No, Jeremy, just stop with your sophist. This is more of your mental.
Sophism. Your claim is its level.
There it
Shut
goes.
up, you
There it
Yeah,
goes
bugger.
again.
that's a good argument, Dal. Well put.
No, you're a
Your
clown.
claim is its
Listen to
level.
me.
You say
Listen
all
to me.
claims have to be
This
supported.
is why I don't have any
Support your
patience for
claim.
clowns like you, because there is no discussion, there is no
I can't believe
rationality,
people
there is
actually
no logic,
donate to
there is
you,
no
Dale.
science. You're just
You
a
are so
clown,
dumb.
a
I'm
faceless.
asking you a simple question. How do you know the water in your bath is level?
You are so
Utter
dumb.
fucking shit,
Actually, I'm going
son.
to donate to you, Dale.
Utter shit.
It must be hard
You
living.
can't answer, can you? You don't know how the water in your bath is level. This is a claim you make every single
All right,
week
everybody.
on
This
your
is
show,
I
and
think
you
it's
cannot
non-retarded
support
people
it.
here.
All you've done is look at the bath and gone, I think it's level. It looks level to me. Even though, as Grim has explained, the amount of curvature in a bath is way, 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 way beyond what your eyes are capable of detecting.
Right, can you let him respond
So
now,
your claim is
Jeremy?
unsupported.
Jeremy.
You make it all the time. This is the
Oh,
entire
Jeremy, you're just
basis
repeating
for your
yourself. Can you let him
argument
respond
And
now?
you cannot support it. It's just a
Just repeating yourself.
nebulous statement.
How can you support that it curves?
Nathan,
Easily, observations. We can just show you with your own P900.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got to have a bit of
Doesn't
control,
matter.
man, because these are just infuriating ball bags. It's no constructive, right? There's nothing happening here apart from
But
these
this isn't an
clowns
argument, is it? This is just you
No, that's-
insulting people.
yeah,
You aren't
again,
making an
You're
argument.
insulting.
Like
You're
that.
insulting. You're an
I
ignoramus.
haven't. I've asked you a
total
question and you're not
ignoramus.
able to answer it.
You are a
That's
clown,
right.
you man.
Pointed out,
You're
you-
absolute
I
clown,
pointed
you're
out the
a
whole
bullshit.
basis for your belief is
Is
based
it
on
basis
nothing.
for you believe? I don't have beliefs.
Oh gosh, Dale, you know,
Well,
you know
you
your face is
obviously
being
do
recorded
because
right
you
now. You're
haven't.
acting like
You
that.
can't tell us what
I'm trying to
tools
help
you've
you out.
used or how you've measured
The
water.
water is
It
the
is-
tool, you
It's
absolute
just a
moron.
belief. It's
The water
literally
is
a
the
belief.
tool. Take the cotton wool out your ears. The water is the tool, you fucking tool.
So you're using water to measure the measure how flat water is. Is that right?
Yes, water is the measuring tool. You absolute
Okay.
clown.
So, and what are you measuring?
What am I measuring? Everything that's constructed is used by
You're
it.
using
Dams are
water to
built.
measure water is what you're claiming.
So, Jeremy, do you
Okay,
think your house is
what-
level?
what
Do you think
units
your
of
house is level,
measurement?
Jeremy?
What units of measurement does
Is your house level, Jeremy?
what units of water?
Is your house level, Jeremy?
Yes,
Oh
it's level,
God.
yeah.
Hey,
How
Del,
is
can you
it
please
level?
calm
How
down,
is it
Del?
level, Jeremy?
Del, calm down.
How is
Um,
it level?
They use
How
lines.
is it level?
You're right.
The mimicry and
If
the
I could get you, Jeremy, I would
just
squeeze
make
your
you look
fucking neck. You're an annoying
No, come
little
on.
shit.
That's your last warning now, Del. No swearing,
There you
please.
go,
Just
man.
calm down and let him
I've seen your
answer.
colours
Del,
for what
Del,
you
if you
are.
can just
These
let
are
him
these
answer.
clowns.
You
We're
were
not
arguing.
on about a
Yeah.
lot of shit.
Yeah,
Self-ejected.
You're
we're,
not taking
we're pointing
control.
out the fallacies
I'm
that
getting
you make
exposed
every
on
single week
this
now.
clown show. If you don't
can
take
And you
control,
don't like it because you can't bully people.
No,
You're
you're just an annoying little shit.
You're now
You're just
attempting to get Nathan to do what
you're
what
over the top of
Tim
you.
does for
Blah
you.
blah 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 blah. Water is level.
you're gonna
Water is
have
the
a heart
measuring
attack.
tool.
How do you
have no
know
measuring
water is
tool
level?
for the
How do you
You
know
only
water?
have cartoons. You have
Because you
sofas.
said it
That
over and
level
over again.
now.
you're full of nonsense.
How do you know water is level
Professor
now?
Eric Dubai told him so.
What a shit show, Nathan. These clowns are just here to confuse people. They are not going to further any progress.
Simple. How do you know water is level? What's confusing about that?
Jeremy, you don't deserve me speaking to you, son, until you shut up.
Oh
So
yeah,
leave.
nobody deserves you speaking to them. That's for
So
sure.
leave.
I'm
What
reacting
has
on what
anybody ever done to deserve
I
that?
am reacting.
So
I'll
leave.
I'll just wait for you to tell me how you know
No,
water's
don't
level.
leave.
Why don't you just kick Mr. V away and kick the other disruptive
Yeah,
ones?
why don't you bully people, Nathan? Bully people
Del.
like Del and Tina.
Okay, Jeremy.
So Del doesn't have to face any challenges that bother him.
Jeremy, ask your question again. I think he's trying to ignore the question altogether.
How do you know water is level?
Because it's been used and applied in everyday reality for however long. You're the one that
what?
wants to deny it. Gonna stop
To go what?
fucking get to fucking wee knobs.
I'm not sure why you reacted that way, but all right. What's water been used for in everyday
But
life?
that's true, like, I'm such a calm, rational dude because I'm trained in a sophistry and I think I'm fucking smart. You're just a numpty wee man.
Thank you.
You're
I
just
am.
a
I'm very
numpty
smart.
man.
Thank
Lewis
you.
way more credit than he deserves, I promise. But yeah, you're kind of shitting your shitty.
Yeah, I'm not that smart.
What's the word
but
I'm looking for?
Thanks.
shedding your skin. Yeah.
Have you any
Yeah, sorry. I've asked him so many times not to swear, and I've just got to bring the hammer down because he just can't control himself. He's just getting too irate, and normally swearing is my example of that happening. So sorry to all who were really enjoying Del getting angry and swearing. He will be welcome back on the next show if he can hopefully moderate his swearing. That'd be even better. I'll take this opportunity while I've got my little sprog on me to say, if you are new to this channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support this channel, hit the super chat, and if you'd like to join the debate live and contest any of these numpties as they have been described by Del, then you are welcome to join and challenge them on any of their rhetoric. So I'm going to transition back to these guys minus Del, and as I say, if you want to join live, hit that link below in the info box.
All right.
No, if water has been used,
It's buoyancy. It's density.
is to prove that water is level by using it. He's got it right. What he's saying.
So I mean, like, what's water been?
Water is level. You put water in a level.
Right, but that's on a tiny, tiny scale, isn't it? And hold on. And as Grim pointed out, if we are on a sphere as proposed, the amount of curvature in a spirit level would be so minuscule that it's of no consequence, and that's how we're able to use spirit levels to build houses.
I'll agree with you on that. Yeah.
Plus, they're in a bubble. They're in a round bubble anyway.
Right, and we also use plumb lines as well, of course, in building that would be perpendicular to the center of the Earth, as it were, or perpendicular to the surface of the Earth.
Tangential or tangential.
Yes. That's a better word.
Okay.
I mean, the way I think about it is, if you're like the size of a germ and you're on a golf ball, like, you're not gonna see curvature ever.
Nope.
So I mean, it's no different for us, like, at all. And you can calculate what fraction of the size of the planet you are. So.
Well, okay. So what about when you go up in a plane and you're up really, really high and you can look down?
You're not really up that high though. The atmosphere is paper thin. If you think about it, like if we're on a basketball, right? Just try to scale it down.
On the basketball
would be how thick the atmosphere was.
Yeah, so I mean, you
really
can see the curvature in the airplane. It's just not very obvious.
You can see the curvature in the airplane.
Yes, you can.
Well, no.
So
you
why
can detect the angular. Right, it just looks a little bit curved out towards the edges because it is. You can see that there's a little bit of angular difference or whatnot. Plus, if
and I mean, more than the curvature which flat earthers really want to find curvature on the horizon, which is almost never going to happen because you have to get up, in an airplane, and even then, it's like just barely at the perceptible level.
How height do you have to be then?
Typically it's around 37,000 feet. That's the answer that's typically given.
I think it's a lot higher than that. Dude.
So when we get 120,000 feet, balloons coming back like I discussed today,
those balloons show curvature.
No, those balloons only show curvature when you've got a fisheye lens, and when you said the other day that you pause it where it is not going convex to concave to convex to concave. I'm talking about the ones that are done with a normal lens at 120,000 feet. How do you
not the argument.
They show
not
those
far enough away. Lewis, shut up, dude. You're still not far enough up in the air. Stop. You're ruining it.
Yeah, you are, Grim.
You're really not. Unless you're looking at it with a laser. Right. Not unless you're looking at the angles of things with the laser. You're not going to be able to detect a point of a half degree with your eye. So when you're looking at, when you're up there, you're looking at something that's something just like a half.
We have to rely on NASA.
0.5 of a degree of a tilt is hard to notice with your naked eye, over the distance of, several, dozens of miles. It's not that easy to see. That's why
Okay,
it's
so we're having to put our faith in NASA
because
then. So you're saying that there's no way that we can detect it.
That is, dude, stop saying you can see curvature the way that they're trying to say you can see curvature from such a small amount of feet. You can't, not the way they're trying to say you can.
You
Or
can
you should be able
absolutely
to.
see curvature from a weather balloon. Absolutely.
Whoa!
You can't really.
No,
Well, I
you
don't know.
can't.
I don't need to. The point is we've got the argument defeated already from 6 foot off the ground.
That's true too.
Out in front of, yeah, you don't need to sit there and go along with them on their little trip to the argument world about this other crap that doesn't even matter because none of you can go that high, right? So you can't really tell, and you got to rely on everybody else. Let's just rely on what we can do right here, right? So I'll put a pole in the ground and in the water, raised up out of the water. We can take pictures of that. We can videotape that, right? We already have, and you can calculate the distance from over water, and then deduct from the 360 degrees to realize a radius of 6,300 kilometers in 371 kilometers.
Have you ever heard of the old Bedford Level experiment?
Yeah, I have. Pretty familiar with it.
And this is done.
We reenacted that this year. People could see all the other way. There was supposed to be all that curvature drop, but no, we could see it. I'm not going to have the words refraction, but
what did you describe the experiment? Who was there? Who set it up? What did you do?
D. Murphy was there, and he was one of the arrangers of it. And it's a 6 mile straight long shot. Unfortunately, it is a bit on a 6 mile stretch. There should be 32 feet of missing curvature. When
32 feet? No.
Yeah.
32 feet? No. 6 mile stretch? No. Let me use my calculator.
Do the calculations then.
Yep.
Anyway, the point is there should be, according to the globe model, 8 inches per mile squared.
24 feet.
Okay, 24, sorry. Okay, well, that 24 feet was not there. We could see all the way to the other end, and in fact, we could see further.
All right, you're forgetting that 24 feet, that's below the horizon, right? The horizon isn't until like 3 miles in. So you have to cut that in half. You have to cut it in half. And we have to know how high the objects being observed were. And we need to know how high the observer was. And we also have to have some form of telemetry going from one of the posts to the other.
Yeah, well, why don't you just read what it says about the old Bedford level or go and recreate?
Because that's not the experiment you did. You did a new experiment, which is similar. It's set up based as the Bedford level, and I understand that one, but I can't know that your results are good unless I see exactly how you set your experiment up.
All right, fair enough.
We have about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer left. If anybody wanted to get any last minute trolling in, or any last minute flat earth or globe earth or cell earth or hollow earth points, you are all welcome to click on that link and join the show. But I will be rounding out in maybe about 5 minutes time.
I wonder how long this is going to go on for.
So check
what,
that
this
link
debate?
Well, no, not just this debate now, what we're talking right now, this debate. I mean, the whole debate, how long is it going to go on for?
I don't know.
NASA are never going to give us the keys to the, they're not going to give us the keys and hold the hands up and go, hey, whoa, look, we messed up, sorry about that. And
I mean, why would they? Why would you expect them to? I mean, even further than that, why would you, we have all these wonderful pieces of technology that have just been given to us, like cars, electricity, motors, generators, all that. I wouldn't be able to make that all on my own. If I was just born born into the wilderness and it was like, all right, looking around at the world, digging metal out of the earth, refining it, like all of that. Oh my gosh, man, the amount of things that are done for us
here on Earth. Not
yes,
talking
but the
about
point is, the point is that there are things that I don't understand, right, and could not produce myself that are produced for me. And I owe a debt of gratitude to the people doing it.
on faith. You have to take that on faith.
Take what on faith? The technology?
Well, you just said about
Here's your problem with the curvature.
Look, I don't mistrust when the car guy tells me what's on the inside of that engine and how it works. I don't mistrust him. I follow his advice and I do what he says, and my car lasts a lot longer because of it.
Turn around and prove that, and if it came to it and you thought, well, hold on a minute, he's lying to me here, let's check out how a gearbox works. Let's say it was your gearbox broken, you could go and get a manual, you could learn about it, etc. But when it comes to things in space travel, we have to rely on their word.
Right. Okay. I'll use your example. Just like with the gearbox.
Sorry, just to interrupt 1 second. I'm really sorry, Lewis. Just got you presented now, Grim, if you want to make your point, because we're running out of time. So if you want to go ahead and make your point, you're being presented.
Okay, thanks. Here's the problem with this 8-inch drop per mile squared. You're using the line of sight instead of the horizontal line like you should be using. So automatically you misrepresent the formula. So of course you're not going to come up with the correct sum. That's it. Simple as done is done.
Hello guys.
You don't need to complain about this 8-inch per mile anymore.
Subscribe to my channel, Jeremy Brown.
Oh my god.
You know.
What's up, bro?
Nathan, thanks very much, guys. I'll see you later. Cheers, Nathan.
It's been a pleasure, Jonathan. Thank you for being here.
Oh, Jonathan, how we doing?
Talking about if you can just acknowledge that you saw this, we can end some of these that keep coming out.
Who, me?
Jamie, stop.
Ah, right, hold on. Fly, if it's incorrectly applied a drop per mile. Yes, I'm acknowledging that I see in it. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, that's that way, you know, that might help. That's all I'm saying. There's a lot of things that might help, like you know, confronting and exposing some of the shenanigans in this this psyop that's going on here with these fake stars videos. Have you seen those with the twinkly aberrations that they show you on the Flat Earth P900 videos of the stars, what they really look like, they say?
Yeah, they're out of focus, because you can do the same thing with a telescope. If you've got a telescope out of focus, you see the same thing.
Yeah, and look how the Flat Earth community ate those up originally, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's just part of the point that I'm trying to make about how they feed the psychosis, and they're feeding off of you guys, and they're trying to get money and clicks and donations and new cameras and, you know,
well, not me,
affirmation. And
I'm not giving them jack.
Even bringing correct arguments to the table, though. They're saying, well, because the paperclip is blue, then the Earth must be flat, or because NASA lied about going to the moon, the Earth must be flat. And it's like, these are not supporting arguments. If people understood that, it would be like, you know, it's kind of strange. You don't hear a lot of people talking about the actual issues about the vaccines and the GMOs and stuff. And, you know, they're about flat Earth and round Earth now. And you can't, you know, we've been saying, hey, this psyop is coming around the corner, you know, and they're trying to push this flat Earth crap on everybody. And they're going to be hiding the fact that we already know that, you know, there's a discrepancy with the mechanism of which rockets would work in space. And there's discrepancies about what gravity is. You know, we've already been talking about this stuff as an electrical phenomena on the subatomic dipole, which would be the smallest of the subatomic particles, and they would operate. That would be why it's a weaker force, you know, than this regular electromagnetism, which would operate on the full, particles. So that's like, and it's a different modality. One passes through the other fractally. And that's kind of hard for people to understand. But I mean, it's not really, when you start understanding, you know, field dynamics and things, and how you can pass radio waves through, you know, different types of radio waves through different types of electromagnetic barriers, right? Because like the radio waves could pass through when they're at the proper bandwidth to be, you know, slim enough to not actually be affected by the other energies, current, you know what I mean? And magnetism, which is also a dielectric. So there's so many different modalities of what's going on out there. It's hard to just say, oh no, it's not, has nothing to do with that or whatever, you know, electromagnetism when it's, you know, clearly it's not density or buoyancy. I mean, why, if it was density and buoyancy alone, right, then why would the brick not just fall upwards? Why wouldn't,
because it's
you know,
heavier. It's heavier than the air around
yeah,
it.
heavier, but what's heavier? Why is down heavier, dude? That's the whole point. You get it now? Did I just wake you up to something? Right. Why is down heavier? Why is when something's heavier goes down? If it's only density and buoyancy, why does the direction down occur?
Right, as we're coming up on the 2-hour mark, I'm going to lower the volume on those guys and basically do my final plug to all of you who have watched. A massive, huge, ginormous thank you for joining us live in the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to join future debates, there will be a link in the info box below this video. And if you're not already, subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.